Hello again and welcome back to the garden. Now today I thought it would be a really great idea to do a quick tour of the garden. Do you know what? It's been 2 weeks since I was last here because last week the video I did was from the bluebell wood. Do check that out if you haven't seen that yet. But yeah, it's amazing how much everything has grown in the past 2 weeks. You know, the garden, even if I do say so myself, is looking really beautiful. I mean, look at these lovely forget-me-nots behind me. And it's also already so productive. I can't believe we're only kind of mid-April and the garden is so far advanced. So yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, so for the garden tour then, let's start by having a look at this area here by the plum tree. I'm really pleased with the forget-me-nots. Look how beautiful they're looking, really stunning. I've also got a few primulas in there, the beautiful yellow flower that you can see. And yeah, it's looking really lovely. Over to the left there, I've got my red currant bushes. And yeah, up there is the plum tree. And I'm really delighted with how well that's coming on. It's got a lot of leaves on it. I only planted it late last summer, so it's doing really well. And yeah, I'm just hoping that I might get some blossom this year. So let's wait and see. Speaking of blossom, all of that beautiful cherry tree blossom that I showed you in the last video, yeah, that's gone now. You know, that was only 2 weeks ago, but it goes so quickly, doesn't it? But yeah, it was absolutely delightful. And yeah, the tree's still looking lovely. So there we are. Yeah, I'm just checking for signs of buds on my plum tree. Are there any coming there? Possibly, maybe. Just coming, if I just come in a little bit. Yeah, so this here, just where I've got my thumb, could potentially be the start of some blossom maybe. It's kind of hard to see, but there's something happening there. Yeah. Oh, I do hope so. I would love to get some blossom on the plum tree this year. That would just be amazing. So this is quite a late variety of plum. It's meant to taste quite similar to Victoria, but it ripens a little bit later. So the fruit should be ready around September time. So it's called Plum Groves Late Victoria. And yeah, isn't it looking lovely there by the forget-me-nots? Yeah, so I'm absolutely delighted with how lovely my forget-me-nots are looking. You know, they're such a kind of common day flower. It's easy to forget just how beautiful they are, but they really are stunning. Now these were actually all in my vegetable beds and I moved them, and I'm so glad I took the trouble to move them rather than just putting them in the compost bin, because they've put on this beautiful display for me here. And you know, they're also a fantastic bee plant, and I think the primulas here, like the yellow against the blue, really helps to set them off. So when I moved into this garden originally about 3 years ago, all of this was either lawn or patio, so there were none of these beds. And the only thing that was here was actually where my plum tree is now. There were 3 massive Weigela shrubs taking up that space. And because I really wanted to put the plum tree in, and I didn't like the flowers on the Weigela, I didn't like the colour of the flowers basically, I decided to remove that and put this plum tree in. And I'm so happy that I went to the trouble of doing that, because I really love this space now. And yeah, it's a space that I see from my kitchen window every morning. So yeah, it just makes all the difference. Yeah, so this area here where I've put the plum tree behind me is in a way a little bit like a food forest, if you're familiar with that permaculture idea, because I've got the plum tree there and I've got 2 red currant bushes, and then of course I've got the beds with some of the perennial vegetables and yeah, other salad leaves and things like that in. Now one of the questions I have is, and I've yet to really find a satisfactory answer, is what does that mean then for moisture retention in the soil? Because presumably the fruit tree and the bushes are going to take up a lot more moisture, and will there then be enough moisture left for, you know, my perennial kale that I've got in that bed, for yeah, all of the other things that I've got growing in that bed? And it's just a question that I have, and if anyone here has any kind of experience of growing food forests or any tips for me on that, I'd really appreciate it. Because yeah, okay, I live in England and it rains in England, but if we get a dry summer, my soil here does not retain moisture very well. It's chalk soil, And this bed could get quite dry, especially if the plum tree is taking a lot of moisture. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on that, because it's a question I have and I just don't know how it's going to work out really. I mean, obviously I'll be watering it, but yeah, it would just be good to know if anyone's got any tips on this, or if anyone's found this to be an issue, or yeah, I just want to pick your brains really. Yeah. Yeah, so this area here is also looking lovely with the forget-me-nots. You can see I've still got the wonky yeah, perennial kale in place there. I didn't take that out yet, but that cutting that's going to replace it is doing really well. And you know, despite the fact it's so wonky, I'm still getting some lovely shoots from it, which are really tasty. Yeah, so like this shoot that you can see here, it's a teeny bit like tender stem broccoli or something like that in flavour. And yeah, it's been absolutely delicious eating these. So while it's producing them, it really does make sense to keep it in place, I think, especially as the cuttings aren't quite ready yet to go in. Yeah, so here is the bed closest to the house then. As always, it's a mix of, yeah, polyculture, isn't it? It's a completely mixed bed. You can see the broad beans I put in here. They're doing really well. Some of them are actually flowering, but not in this bed. I'll show you that later on. What else have I got? I've got a bull's blood there, perpetual spinach. That's really taken off. I've got a feeling that's going to bolt soon. I've got some Mizuna, old and new. The Mizuna I put in the last video is doing really well. It's looking really healthy and strong. I have had to do a little bit of watering because there's been the odd April shower, but apart from that, it's been quite dry and no slug damage so far, which is a miracle because I seem to have found the only beer that slugs don't like. But I'll come on to that in a second. So these perennial brassicas here, I think they're actually tree cabbages. I just want to show you, they're also getting shoots on them. And yeah, again, I've been using these in my cooking and they are absolutely delicious, really delicious. As delicious as tender stem broccoli, I would say. Really enjoying eating them. And yeah, coming on then to my slug traps, I've been buying the reduced beer basically from the reduced section where maybe the packaging's been bashed about a bit, and I bought some Camden Pale Ale. I don't know anything about beer, just to say that I know absolutely nothing about beer, but yeah, I found that the slugs do not like it at all. I don't think it's attracted any slugs whatsoever. So yeah, I said before they're not connoisseurs, but they don't like the Camden Pale Ale. There you go. So the two pots that I had the daffodils in, yeah, they're mainly finished now, although there's still a few daffodils clinging on. Yeah, so I wasn't really sure about these when I got them. I kind of got them by accident. I ordered some daffodils online and they sent me some tulips. And I thought, well, shall I send them back or shall I keep them? And I kept them. And yeah, I wasn't sure originally. I thought maybe they were a little bit garish, but I quite like them now that they're in my garden. Here we've got a more traditional sort of red one. And yeah, let's take a look at the other planter. Yeah, so quite a few of the red ones in here, the red tulips. Apologies, I don't know the names. Don't know very much about tulips really. And of course there are a huge number of tulips. But yeah, it's good to have a bit of continued interest going on in these pots. You know, obviously a lot of the daffodils here are dying back. There's still a few that are looking nice, like this one here looks quite pretty, doesn't it? But yeah, the tulips are really taking over now. And that is looking lovely. Yeah, so this is the second bed that I have. Again, we've got another lovely tree cabbage there. Yeah, so I've also got another perennial kale in the background. This bed's got quite a lot of garlic in it. There's all these spires that you see here. I have no idea how I'm going to be able to eat all of this garlic. It's going to be a hell of a lot for one woman, but luckily I did choose the type of garlic that stores well, which is just as well really. I actually discovered this morning something quite amazing. I've actually got a packed choi. I just open them up a bit. Yeah, so I planted some pak choi last autumn and I thought they'd all been eaten by the slugs, but yeah, this one escaped. And the interesting thing to say about that is that all the other pak choi I planted in the other bed, but this one I must have planted in this bed. And as I always say, when you grow in mixed beds and you don't grow all your crops together, there's always a chance that the pests don't find one of them. Yeah, and that's what seems to have happened here. And funnily enough, you know, I also didn't know it was here. So it wasn't just the pests that didn't find it, I've also not found it, which is what's allowed it to grow to be so big and strong, because I've not been eating it either. So yeah, it just goes to show you that there are benefits of gardening in this way. Yeah, so my broad beans here have actually got some flowers on them, look. I do love broad bean flowers. They're not open at the moment, but yeah, aren't they stunning? I do love them. And yeah, it's looking really healthy. Coming on then, my bull's blood. So bull's blood is a type of beetroot that you grow specifically for the leaves. Now, they weren't looking very healthy over the winter, but yeah, they seem to have picked up a bit. So, well, with the exception of the one over here, I've got one over here that just gave up the ghost. But yeah, I've got a few other bull's blood that are actually looking quite strong. So maybe it just needed some slightly warmer weather or more light. I don't know really, but yeah, they've come on and hopefully I can start picking some bull's blood soon again. So the third bed I have here has mainly been taken over by strawberries, but I have managed to squeeze a few broad beans in here. Yeah, I may need to take out some of these strawberries, to be honest with you. They've gone a bit mad in this bed. They are prolific spreaders. And I did also say that it might be worth turning this into a herb bed. As you can see here, I've got the thyme that's doing really well. So yeah, and something else that made me really happy is right at the end there, let me just come over. I spotted this plant here. Now this is a wild garlic. I have got no recollection of planting that, none whatsoever. But yeah, I'm really happy to have that in the garden because the leaves, they have this lovely garlicky taste and they're really great to use in, I don't know, I quite like chopping them up and putting them into pasta dishes and things like that. I probably won't go too mad this year because I think I've just got this one plant. But yeah, I do hope it spreads. That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, so next to the plum tree, on the other side, I've got one of the Chilean guava I put in. So if you don't know what a Chilean guava is, then you need to check out the video where I was planting unusual fruit varieties. And yeah, that explains what it is. But one of the main advantages of the Chilean guava is that it fruits very late in the season. You can expect berries, I think, around November time. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why you might want to plant it in your garden. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, I'm not sure that it's looking as healthy since I put it in. The leaves have gone a little bit red. Yeah, if anyone knows why it might be doing that, if it means there's some kind of nutrient deficiency, is it not getting enough water? Let me know, because yeah, I really want it to, yeah, to do well, and I just feel like it's not completely happy at the moment. And yeah, coming down from my Chilean guava, I've got another very interesting space. You're going to ask me, why have I got eggshells in the garden? This isn't a slug prevention method, although I know some people use eggshells for that reason. It was more that I wanted to divide. I've got two beds here where I've put in carrots, and I've put in two varieties of carrots. And I couldn't think of a way to divide basically the two sections with the different varieties. So I just thought I'll use what I've got to hand. And I had lots of eggshells because I love to eat eggs. So that's what I used. And yeah, funnily enough now, the variety that's germinated the best is in the bed at the top here. And the reason why I say funnily enough is because the early variety, Nonce, the one that's meant to be ready for picking much sooner, is taking a lot longer to germinate. So that's a bit strange. Yeah, so I was hoping that these two varieties would be ready at different times. You know, so a bit of succession growing going on here, but I'm not sure now, because if the earlies don't catch up, then they might be ready for picking at the same time as the later variety over there. But yeah, I've not had much experience in growing carrots, so we'll just see how it pans out. I do need to thin out these carrots at some point, and I know that's a bit risky for carrot fly, but yeah, it's got to be done. I didn't quite manage to sow them sparsely enough. Moving up then from the carrots, I've got some lovely chard in that bed there. Look at that chard. Look at the beautiful stems on that. And yeah, next to the perpetual spinach, I've also got some valerian that will be flowering at some point, beautiful red flowers. So yeah, that part of the garden's all looking really lush and yeah, just really far advanced, considering that we're, you know, we're only in the middle of April. And yeah, you can see that my strawberries are flowering. They're looking really lovely with the primula as well there. Looking really promising actually. And oh my goodness, sorry, I've just seen something. There we are. Yeah, that's a strawberry there actually forming. Wow, that is really early. Yeah, let's just hope that we don't get any late frosts, because if not, then I could be having strawberries quite early this year. Yeah, so this area here, you can see I've got some chives there, and then behind the chives I have got my kiwi. How exciting. Just growing up that stick there. It's not that far advanced at the moment, you know, it's still quite small, but I can see it's growing more and more every day, and actually I can just about make out that there's some buds coming on that kiwi. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you. Yeah, hopefully you can see there that there's some white buds coming. They're just forming at the moment. So yeah, that's good. I was a bit concerned because it was taking a while to grow compared to some of my other fruit bushes. But yeah, maybe the kiwi just needs that little bit longer to get going. But yeah, that's kiwi is-I. Every garden needs kiwi is-I. I suggest you check out my video on that if you don't know why. Yeah, so yeah, that is my kiwi. Wonderful. Lots of strawberries. Yes, that's my second Chilean guava over there. I think it might be doing slightly better than the other one, but I don't know. Some more perennial kale. Lovely. And my salad burnet there. That's a perennial salad plant. The one with the kind of fern-like leaves. Yeah, so some more perennial kale there. Looking healthy. Actually, potentially looking like it needs a bit of a water looking at it. Yeah, maybe I need to give them a bit of a water a bit later. But yeah, I think they're looking healthy. And moving on then, I have, oh yes, I've got this calendula that's come out quite early, which is exciting. I actually popped it next to my honeyberry because I thought it might help to encourage some more pollinators in. But I think my honeyberry stopped flowering now. Let's have a look. Yeah, it stopped. So honeyberries provide fruit very early in the season, which means that, yeah, they flower very early on. So yeah, my honeyberries have stopped flowering already, and yeah, it's only middle of April. Interesting. Right. Yep, calendula's looking lovely. And yes, this is exciting. Here is my comfrey plants. Well, you've got Honesty there on the left, and yeah, on the right here is my comfrey plant. Looking really healthy, lots and lots of flowers on it. The bees have been really enjoying that. Yeah, it really goes with the Honesty, doesn't it? What was I going to say? I've actually had a bit of a go at propagating this comfrey, because obviously comfrey is just the most fantastic plant. You know, you can put it in your compost to help speed up decomposition and provide lots of great nutrients. You can make a comfrey tea from it to feed your plants in the garden. It's meant to be particularly good for plants that are about to fruit, so because it provides lots of potassium. So earlier on in the season, when comfrey started to appear, I had a bit of a dig around the base of this comfrey because there were actually basically other plants coming up around it, and I separated them off because I want to make lots of new comfrey plants for the garden because it's such a useful plant. I mean, it's meant to be really invasive, but it is not invasive at all in my garden. I'm having to, yeah, do the work for it basically. So yeah, I've got some more plants coming here. Yeah, so this is one of the plants that I separated off, and I've got another one over here. It's looking a bit wonky, but it's there, look. And another one over here. And I've also got one in the bed where I planted the sedums, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But yeah, so I've got a few plants there just for free, just from dividing up the comfrey. Now, while I'm here, let's talk about this plant here with the white flowers, which is, it's technically a weed. It's called garlic mustard. Yeah, I'm leaving it. I don't really see it as a weed. And yeah, it's a really important plant for the orange tip butterflies that you get in your gardens. The caterpillars need this plant. So I'm happy to leave it, and I don't need that space at the moment, so it's staying. And yeah, I think the leaves are really attractive actually, with this sort of horseshoe shape, and the white flowers. I've got no problem with that at all. It's welcome to stay. Yes, I'm here then next to this massive planter that I have in the garden. I wasn't expecting it to be quite this big. It is literally like 160 long, so about 5'3". It's really quite a lengthy planter. And I've got my black currants in it. And what I wanted to say about that was, well, a few things. The reason why I got this planter is because it's beneath the cherry tree, so I can't actually grow anything really in the soil here because of the roots of the cherry tree. So that's why I've invested in this massive planter. But yeah, I did a whole video last summer about how I filled this planter using just one bag of compost, and then all of the other ingredients, if you like, ingredients, but everything else that I put in here was just natural stuff that I had in the garden. So sticks, cardboard, you can see there's plenty of cardboard in there still, natural materials, you know, weeds, everything went in there. And I think what I really want to get across is, now that we're into the next growing season, is look how healthy these black currants actually look. And I only bought one bag of compost. There are loads of buds coming on there, loads. And yeah, likewise on the other black currant. Yeah, my black currants are looking really healthy and strong, and I saved a hell of a lot of money. So if you're interested in looking at some cheaper ways, you know, how to save money on compost, I do recommend checking out that video, because yeah, my black currants are looking really healthy, and they don't know that I didn't spend, you know, a small fortune on compost. They're really happy. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that, because I think one of the things that puts people off growing really sometimes is the cost, and a big part of that cost is the compost. And yeah, you really don't need to spend huge amounts. You can get away with using quite a small amount of compost, and yeah, just being a little bit creative using things that you already have, you know, in your home and in your garden. You can see I'm using this, as I say, as a bit of a nursery for other plants. I've got a sedum in a pot there. I took a cutting of a sedum. I believe that's autumn joy, so Herbstfreude. Yeah, big fan of sedums. I'll be showing you my other sedums in a moment. Yes, I had a request from a family member for a salad bonnet plant, and as you can see, that seems to have rooted and it's doing pretty well there. So hopefully that will be ready soon. And yeah, there are some rosemary and lavender cuttings that I took. There's a bit of a story about that rosemary cutting actually, which is that a local school near me had a rosemary that got blown over in a like one of the autumn storms that we had, and I saw that they just basically dumped this rosemary plant to the side, and but it was still alive. So yeah, I took a few cuttings, and yeah, look at that. I'm gonna have a new rosemary plant. Yeah. Meanwhile, the original plants died, so it just goes to show you. Anyway, I'm really pleased I did that. Yeah, so this part of the garden here is, well, it's a little bit of a wild area, shall we say, but I've got big plans here for the nettles. I recently invested in a bucket. I realised that I didn't actually have a bucket. I don't know how that's possible. But yeah, I bought a bucket, and my plan is to make some nettle tea. Now, nettles are really good for promoting leafy green growth, so any leafy greens and things like that, they really benefit from the nitrogen in the nettle leaves. And yeah, you just need to leave the nettle leaves to steep in some, ideally some rainwater for a few weeks, and then you can use it as like a liquid feed. And yeah, that's one of the things I've got planned. I might do a video on that actually, just to show you how I'm going to do that if you've never done that before. But yeah, I'm planning on making good use of this resource. I've got some more honesty here. I love honesty. Again, it's a fantastic bee and butterfly plant. So technically I didn't actually plant this, but I don't class that as a weed. And one of the things I love about honesty is the seed heads that are coming here. Obviously these then turn paper thin, don't they? But yeah, they're really beautiful, the seed heads. Really beautiful. And yeah, in this bed here then, I've got the 2 sedum that I bought, you know, in the reduced to clear section at my local garden centre. And I said at the time, oh, they look dead, but trust me, they're not dead. And yeah, look, they're not. So yeah, this one is looking really healthy. This one was the firecracker. And then yeah, this one here was the mystery sedum, which didn't have a label on it. I just know that it's a sedum, and it might be yellow from the colour of the pot, or maybe not, who knows. And yeah, over here then is another comfrey that I managed to separate off from the original plant, because the comfrey that I originally had in this area died. Don't know why. Might have been because I was digging. Maybe I accidentally dug up the roots. It's possible. That's always possible. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the sedums are looking. The Nepeta that I protected with the hanging basket to try and stop yeah, the local neighbourhood cat from eating it before it could grow, that is doing really well, and it's soon going to be through the hanging basket. And yeah, the cat can finally have some Nepeta, so it only has to wait a few more weeks, I think, for that. But yeah, this hanging basket trick has worked really well. I highly recommend it if you're having any issues with hungry cats. Yeah. And yeah, moving on. And yeah, moving on in this bed, the Ericium Bowls Mauve just continues to do what it always does. It's flowering, it's looking beautiful. Just the easiest perennial to have in the garden, and yeah, I highly recommend it. And then yeah, past the Ericium Bowls Mauve, I've got all of my wonderful raspberry plants. They're looking really lovely, really strong and healthy. And yeah, looking forward to some tasty raspberries later on in the year. And yeah, here we go, here's the pond. Only a little pond, but yeah, it gets used, let me tell you. I have seen the occasional frog in there. No frog spawn, but I have seen the occasional frog in there already this year. And yeah, come the summertime, you know, I saw 4 or 5 frogs chilling out in this tiny little space during some of the hot summer days last year. So yeah, it gets used, and I love watching the frogs, as do the cats. But yeah. Yeah, so something else I wanted to update you on are my 2 pepper plants. Now, I don't know if these are chili peppers or sweet peppers, because they germinated from a seed in the garden, and I actually only found them by accident. I had no idea they were growing. It must have been from something that I'd eaten and put into the compost bin. Yes, I just wanted to show you how well they've overwintered, really. So I dug them out of the garden last autumn, you know, before we got the cold weather, and I brought them indoors, and I've had them on a sunny windowsill, and yeah, they're looking really I think they're looking pretty healthy. I just recently nipped the top out of this one here to hopefully encourage it to grow a little bit bushier. But yeah, what I'm interested to see, and I really hope I get some fruits this year to be able to find out, is I'll be interested to see if they are the same plant, because I don't think they are. Originally I thought because they grew next to each other, they must be the same type. But now when you look at them, there's some clear differences there. So this one on the left, you know, the leaves are quite a light green. If we can, maybe we can compare them. So the leaves look a little bit different to me, and also just the way the plant is growing. This one has kind of sort of gone out a bit, and this one's gone straight up, if you know what I mean by that. So yeah, I'm not sure that they are the same plants. If you're an expert on peppers and you know the answer, you can already see what type of peppers these are, then let me know. I'd absolutely love to hear. I guess my thoughts are that this one on the left, it looks like chili peppers that I've grown in the past. So I think this is definitely a chili pepper, but I'm wondering if the one over here could be a sweet pepper. Who knows? Yeah, it's a mystery. As I say, I really, really, really hope that, you know, we get some warm weather and I get to see them flowering and hopefully fruiting. So here we've got one of my mint plants. This is a black peppermint plant, and yeah, I repotted this into some new soil, yeah, a couple of months back, and as you can see, it's loving the new soil. It's growing really strongly there, which is great. And yeah, that's next to my grow house. And I had to give you an update on my grow house. These are all of the tomatoes that I potted on. And yeah, they're all growing. Pretty happy, really. None of them have died, and I'm going to have lots of tomatoes. Probably far too many. But yeah, that's a good problem to have, right? So yeah. Now up at the top here, I've got another seed sowing area. These are all my curcubites. Yeah, I think that's what they're called. I've got a mix here. I've got two different types of, well, actually no, that's complicated. I've got some courgettes, so some zucchini. I've got a yellow variety which is climbing. I do try to grow climbing squashes and things in the garden, because obviously being pushed for space, that really helps, because otherwise they take up so much space. So I've got my tromboncinos that I grow every year. I love growing them. They're really tasty, and yeah, they've got a really fun shape. They're the shape of a trombone, hence why they're called tromboncinos. And yeah, I've sowed my cucumbers, although I actually sowed them a bit early. You're not meant to sow them until May, but you know, I feel like the winter has passed and we're now well into spring, so I can get away with it. And although the last frost date isn't for a few weeks, yeah, I don't think we're going to have another frost. But anyway, regardless, I can easily bring them in. I've got them in here, mainly in this tray, and I could easily bring that indoors. And actually, that's the story, this tray. Well, it's not really a tray, is it? It's a window box. And I actually found this discarded in a lane. Yeah, someone had just thrown it out in a lane. There's nothing wrong with it. So I brought it home. And my plan is to use this to grow my French beans in. And yeah, I've got them. I'll show you them in a second. I've got them in a pot. They didn't germinate yet. I've only just sown them. But yeah, fancy just throwing that away. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so here then are the two pots where I've sown my dwarf French beans, and you can just about see that some of the seeds have pushed themselves to the surface there, which I think is what they do when they're thinking about germinating. At least that seems to be what broad beans do, so I'm assuming they're going to act the same. I've not grown French beans before, so not an expert, but that's my guess. What I wanted to say was that I have chosen to sow these, well, I haven't sown them in the coir bricks that I usually use. So I sow a lot of my seeds in the coir bricks. I get the Mr. Fothergill's ones, but yeah, there are plenty of other versions available. So what I noticed was during the seed compost experiment was that the broad beans that have been sown in the coir did really badly, like really badly. They were really unhappy. So I think there's something about the coir that legumes don't really like. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it's a pH thing, I'm not sure, but for that reason I've actually chosen to use a different compost for my seed sowing here. In fact, I've used the Melcourt Silver Grow all-purpose. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because generally the coir is a fantastic seed sowing medium, but I don't think it works so well for legumes, or it certainly didn't for my broad beans. And yeah, that's my instinct, so I'm avoiding using that for my French beans here. Yeah, so just to give you an update then on the zinnias, well, my cat is really not very impressed that I've brought them up here. She considers this to be her territory because it gets nice and warm, but yeah, it's easy for me to film up here. So yeah, the zinnias that I sowed as part of the seed compost experiment are coming on really strong. I've actually been leaving them out in the garden, which is you're probably not meant to do because I don't think they're hardy, but yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on the frost dates, and if a frost is forecast then I'll bring them indoors. But I'm actually happy if they grow a little bit slower, because I really would like them to be flowering around the same time as my tomatoes, so to bring in some of the pollinators. I did see on a video online that they recommend that you pinch out some of the top part of the plant to create, you know, a bushier plant. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it till they get a teeny bit taller before I do that. And yeah, I've got a good few there. They didn't all germinate, but I've got a good few there. And yeah, I've got enough probably for, you know, to put in my tomato planters. I've got 4, and I've got 1, 2. Yeah, so I've got 3 for each planter. Yeah, so that's worked out pretty well, hasn't it? And yeah, as I say, my cat really does regard this compost bin lid as her territory. So what I'll do is I shall remove the all of the things from here so she can actually get on with the important job of sleeping. Yeah. Yeah, so that was my April garden tour. I do hope that you've enjoyed watching. It really is amazing to me just how much my garden has come on in the past 2 weeks since I was last here. And actually that's one of the reasons why I really love filming the garden, because it really helps me to see the progress and just how much things are growing that I think I'd miss otherwise. If you didn't get a chance to see my bluebell woodland walk, and you may not have done because I don't really think it got very promoted by the algorithm, I do recommend checking out my Nature's Walk playlist. Yeah, it's just a really quick, chilled out 5-minute video that I think you'll really enjoy. Yeah, going back to the garden, I only have a very small garden here, as you can see, but it really is amazing just how much you can fit into even a very small growing space. So if, like me, you don't have a big garden, please don't be deterred by that, because as you can see, this garden, not only is it really productive, it's producing lots of fruit and veg, but also, you know, it's pleasing to the eye. I've got lots of lovely flowers here. They're bee-friendly flowers, so it's also good for wildlife. So yeah, don't be put off by that. It really is amazing what you can do. But yeah, do let me know how your garden's getting on in the comments section. Have you also noticed that your garden's that little bit further ahead this year? I do think it's because of all of this lovely light. And I think in my case, possibly also because of the seed compost experiment, which forced me to sow my seeds a little bit earlier on in the year than I usually would. And yeah, that's worked out well for me. I mean, if the weather had been a bit different, probably wouldn't have done, but this year luck has been on my side. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, as always. And yeah, until next time, bye bye.